you die.
All right, so we just listened through Devil Wears Prada new album, Color Decay. Now we're going to talk about it, take turns telling our thought, take turns giving a rating. So, Jordan, what are your thoughts on this album, Color Decay?
I think this album is a very, very safe album. And for a band like Devil Wears Prada, who in the past has been a very polarizing band, and back in the day, whenever they just kind of wrote whatever they wanted, but it was interesting, and so they kind of carried themselves. But this is just very safe. It's very all this
formulaic.
Like I said, it's very formulaic, and not even in a way to where how we always talk about albums and bands being generic as a sound. But this is just very generic as in it just sounds like a very generic I guess alternative rock. I don't really
generically
know,
written
it's not even post hardcore. It's just very mid tempo alternative rock, I guess. I wouldn't even call it alternative rock because a lot of those bands with those labels are very guitar focused. I feel like a lot of people say Breaking Benjamin or Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Those are alternative rock bands, or Incubus or something. Those bands are very guitar focused and vocal focused, but they write their songs where there are very clear hooks and there are very clear riffs and ideas that set everything apart, and they don't really just play the same song over and over again. But this I feel like maybe there's 12 songs, and I feel 7 of them all were very the same tempo, all had the same kind of verse chorus verse structure. They all had the same kind of drum beat, the same just basic chords over a chorus, and it got very, very, very samey, and it's at the point where it all the songs just kind of blend together, and there's not really any clear difference between them, other than whenever there's a random heavy song in between.
Yeah.
And even then it's very, very far in between. There was 1 or 2 heavy songs, and even then only one of them was somewhat heavy throughout the whole song. And it doesn't have to be heavy the entire song. It doesn't have to be chorusy and stuff. There's a perfect middle ground that a lot of bands can hit, and that a lot of bands do hit. But there's a lot of bands that just I don't know, maybe they're old or out of touch or something. Maybe they just don't, you know how whenever artists and bands, they have interviews and they say, oh, whenever we write an album, we don't really listen to what's out there and what's new, and we don't really listen to what's popular. And I feel that's a very it's a detriment to you, because if you look at all the bands that are popular and the bands that everyone really talk about and are very, very, very high regarded, they have those different elements to where they can stand on their own. But this is just I don't know, man. It's very consistent, but then also inconsistent, because it feels the production is all over the place. Some songs, well, most of the songs, the production feels a lot of the instruments are just there, but they didn't really mix them together and have a cohesive mix. It just sounds here's the guitars on both sides, here's the drums pan throughout, here's the vocals, and then here's the synth in the background. It just feels very separated, and it doesn't feel the mix is very cohesive. The one heavy song with the 808, it just that song really sticks out, but not because it's because it's a great song, but because it's a heavy song in the middle of a whole bunch of other very chorus heavy songs. But then again, like even the mix on that one was like completely different than all the other songs, and completely different from the other heavy song. Like that one was the only one with an 808, which you know you don't need 10,000 808s like throughout the whole album. Like they've done albums like that before, like they've done that thing. But like whenever there's things like that to where it's like, okay, if you're gonna have like the clear heavy songs and like the clear like you know radio hit songs, like at least have those similar songs have a very connected and like similar like mix to it, because that's definitely gonna help it out, because you're gonna hear this one song like all the way at the beginning of the album and you're gonna be like, oh well that was really good and it sounds like this, and then you hear one like 3 or 4 songs later and it sounds completely different, and it's like almost like you're listening to like a whole completely different album sometimes. So like I feel like they really didn't make it like a consistent album at all. The instruments, they were all pretty good. They're just kind of there. Like I said, the mix doesn't really like blend everything together. So you can hear everything separately, which is a good thing. It's a very clear mix, but it just feels like it doesn't have enough body to round everything out. The guitars, they were really crunchy and they were really loud in the heavy parts, but throughout like the more chorus heavy songs, they kind of buried the guitars a lot, and they were more like
More
vocal.
fuzzy.
They were more vocal heavy and more synth heavy, and like the guitars were just kind of like I guess they kind of played them more like a synth, and like have like the synth be like more of like the forward instrument, and then have the guitars kind of be like that background kind of just layering to fill everything out. But then even then it doesn't really fill everything out, it just kind of seems weird. Vocals, the singing, it's you know it's all right, it's pretty just standard metalcore, not even like metalcore like cleans, but like he wasn't bad. There wasn't anything like egregious, you know. There wasn't anything like outright like, oh that was like that didn't sound good. The screams, they were all right. They sound really like raw, but at the same time they feel kind of like they have like a lot of processing over it to get that clarity. Maybe it's like because it was double tracked. I don't know. I didn't really hear that at all. That's not really a thing that bands really do, unless they're doing like a high and a low, like kind of scream, like layered, which they did that a little bit, but not really. I didn't really like his like kind of like whiny sounding like vocals. Like I guess they're kind of supposed to sound like kind of like desperate, or like he's kind of like very like emotional, but it just felt kind of like very contrived. It felt like there was emotion, but like emotion just to have it. And I felt like that's kind of like the theme of the album. Like there are things that are there just to have it. Like there's choruses all over this just to have it, just because, you know, I guess maybe bands feel like they need to be like this now, and like they can't be like experimental or heavy like they used to be. But then whenever bands do that now, it's like those bands stand out like way more than these ones, just because it does sound different. And I feel like maybe they've gotten lost touch with that. So overall, it's very, very boring to me. The one heavy song was all right. I like the 808, but just the mix and stuff on that song kind of like detracted from it for me too. It just like, I don't know, having everything be this inconsistent but also be like consistently like boring, it's just like very confusing and very weird. It's very middling, I feel like, but apparently not, because apparently a whole bunch of people love this.
Yeah.
And I think it's like the best metal album that's came out in the last couple of years, but I don't know, like there's barely any metal on this. I feel like it was another album just for them to make another album, just because they feel like they have to. Not too great.
Yeah, so I think the inconsistency part is like the biggest like thing here. Like you said, the mix. the mix is like weird in like different songs. I don't know if it's just like YouTube or not. I don't know. I feel like at this day and age, that's not as big of a thing. YouTube being at fault is what I'm referring to. But like, yeah, there was like two songs, the heaviest ones, Watchtower, and I don't remember the other one, but the other one was like extremely like weirdly mixed. Like it just like when the guitar, like you could feel how heavy it was, but it was just like, it was like jarring with how like just the different the production was. It was just, I don't know, it was almost uncomfortable at a time. And I also think that the guitar is very inconsistent here. Not just, you know, I don't think they're just, it's not just that they're doing different stuff during the different songs, like how there's like more fuzzy, softer shit. But it's like they don't do anything with the guitars. There's like only a few riffs that really like stood out. You know, it's like they didn't really, they kind of just like, I don't know, they just had a guitar and like didn't really do much
chords
with it.
over choruses.
Yeah, there wasn't like standout stuff with to be like, you know, metalcore. You know, normally with, especially with like when it's not like super heavy, you know, you usually have some like more like intricate stuff in there. There just wasn't. It was like mostly just like very vocally focused. And like I think that's one of the other things that kind of makes it boring is I'm not a fan of Mike's newer vocal style. It's very, he just kind of, it's kind of one note. He does do some different stuff here and there. He did have some like a couple highs in here and stuff, and did kind of some of the talky screamy thing, but like most of it, like, you know, if you clip out different parts of all the songs, like all his vocals just kind of sound the same. Like it's just him doing the you know, and just, I don't know, is what my mom probably hears when she listens to my music, you know, like that's what I feel like during this. I also think the synth was very inconsistent. Like Jordan said, like during the softer songs, you know, they're more synth focused, more atmospheric. And in the other songs, they were like, they tried to make it atmospheric, but in such a way that the synth was very buried. And like, if you could like listen and hear it, but it was like just like fucking barely. And it's like, you know, I don't know. It just didn't like I said, inconsistently just all throughout the album. I think it's just very weirdly written. I don't know if, you know, pandemic had something to do with it. I mean, they wrote Zombie during the fucking pandemic too, right? Zombie 2. I don't know. And I think one of the other things is that, you know, one of those comments kind of made it make sense to me, that she said like one of the songs was about his like breakup during the pandemic. So I was like, okay, so this album being dark and depressing is basically just, you know, what 35-year-old Mike, that dude being angsty, is basically what this album is. It's just trying to be fucking, I'm mad and sad, and here's some songs, you know, like,
yeah, he's whining, crying. He's got a guitar, so he's playing some chords, you know.
That's why I picked it up. That's like I gotta get it out, man. Oh god. Yeah, and then like I said earlier, very formulaic, you know, like almost every song was just verse, chorus, verse, chorus, lots of fucking choruses just all over the goddamn place. Just like very, that's another thing that just made it feel very samey throughout the whole thing. Was just, you know, every song they'd start slow, start singing, do some choruses, do it again, and then have a little heavy part at the end.
And the thing is that bands can have like all their songs be, you know, chorus heavy, but like you can still write other like defining parts to your songs that make them stand out. Like it doesn't all have to sound exactly the same. Like it can have the same structure. Like for instance, like Ocean's 8 Alaska and Static Dress. Like most of those songs have a chorus or multiple choruses. Like especially for Static Dress. Like that album has like third choruses on like almost like half of the songs, but like they have like their identity to where all the songs stand out. Like none of the songs are the same tempo, none of them have the same drum beats or the same riffs. It's like, I don't know, like this is just very like, it sounds like the same song over and over.
Yeah, and I part of that was like I put that down here. A lot of my complaints is it specifically says it's not that it's not heavy, it's that it's reduced to being formulaic. Like it's just not like it just that's what makes it boring. Is not the non-heaviness. It's just the way it's written and just everything. It's just like start the song, the next song sounds has the same start as the one before it, and the choruses, you know, nothing really stands out there. Like the dude's not a bad singer or anything. It's just it sounds the same, and then Mike screams the same, and then the guitar does nothing, and just it's all the same. Like that's what it is. Like, you know, aside from the two fucking heavy songs. That's what, you know, so like when people see me say that, they're like, oh, he just cares about the heaviness. No, that was the only interesting part of the fucking thing. Like, you know,
because it sounded different.
Yeah, that was them doing different stuff. That was the song they had played around with the guitar a little more. They had riffs, they had more synth, you know, just that's it. I don't know. That's my fucking review. So Jordan, rating wise, what would you rate this? We gave Parkway Drive a 4, so I don't think we can go that low. It was listenable, at least. I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Honestly, I think I enjoyed Parkway more than this.
No?
I'm gonna give it a 3.
Whoa!
Like it's like I was bored the entire time, and like it was so inconsistent. It was so boring. It was just like I don't like, and it felt like it just kind of like came and went. Like there were no like defining moments. There were like no points where I was like, damn, that was good, other than the one like breakdown with an 808 because it sounded different than everything else. So like,
and it was too depressing. Like just that mood was just like the entire time. Like it was just like there was no pickup ever. Like it just.
And see, like we listened to Ether Coven, and that was like very like the same kind of like atmosphere and like kind of like feeling to it, but there was moments where it picked up. There was moments where it went very slow, where it went very melodic, where it went very heavy, and it was like it's just I don't understand like how bands can just like write. I mean, I can understand how they can write it because it's easy. Like it's just very, very safe. So like I don't know. It's a 3. It's a 3.
All right. I don't know if I can go that low. I was okay. So while we were like sitting here thinking, I was, you know, I think when you're talking and stuff, I was thinking kind of like a 6, but then I'm like, no, because we gave like Secrets a 6, and that was like, you know, it was okay.
Even that was more interesting than this.
Yeah, it
like,
still had like, it was
energy.
generic and everything,
energy.
but there was So, and I don't know if I can quite give it a 4, so I think I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10, which is, you know, that's still pretty low. It had some cool moments for sure. I just think, like I said, it just wasn't very well written. It was just a lot of the same shit over and over, and not enough. There was just no pickup, and just very especially the mood. So yeah, you know, it's a low 5. You know, I could see a 4, but I'll be nice today. I'm gonna give it a 5. So 5 for me, 3 for Jordan. You know, that was rough. Probably gonna get a lot of hate for this one too. A lot of people fucking love this shit, and I don't know what it is. But all right, that's about it.